And so, hello and welcome, everyone. Carissa, thank you for the very generous introduction. I just want to share that this is a timeout intended to provide insights, inspiration, and I hope motivation to all of our beloved caregivers. So, my acknowledgement is to you for the work that you do every day when you show up. Thank you. Thank you for your service. You give so much of yourselves in your day to day work, and this is an opportunity for you in this next hour or 55 minutes now. This is a moment for you. So just relax your shoulders and really be present and see what resonates for you. So, beyond the introduction, thank you very much. I just want to share a little bit more about me in terms of my philosophy in life. And that is that I have a firm belief with all that I've done and I continue to do, continuous learning, having fun, loving what I do. The lessons that have been the greatest for me in my life have come from raising three magnificent young men. Well, they're not young men anymore. They're grown men, as I have to be reminded on many, many occasions. They're grown men now. Um, the lesson that I came from that, I drew from when they were very young. There was a recognition that I can't be everywhere all at once. Here are these three little guys going to three different soccer fields, and I just couldn't be there. And one thing I knew to be true is that if they lose that game, they're going to come home probably miserable and hungry. And if they win that game, well, they're going to come home probably really happy, but also very hungry. And somebody needed to be on the end of that. So it was my opportunity to give myself permission to be where I needed to be when I needed to be there and recognize I can't be everywhere all at once. And when I was able to look after myself, then my well being paid dividends to those boys. How I showed up impacted them. When mama was good, they were good. And I believe the same to be true for every one of you. And that's my message to you in this story is that when you look after yourself, it shows up in your care, it shows up in your relationships at home, outside of home, it shows up in how you greet people anywhere you go. You know when you feel good how you show up for the rest of the world. So everyone else will benefit from that. And so the lesson here is that continue looking after yourselves because it pays forward to everyone. And so with that, the mantra is that healthcare starts with self-care, and your self-care is your healthcare. Okay, so diving into today, really important distinction is that today's session isn't intended as therapy or medical intervention. This is really an opportunity to remove our titles and to come in and share a human experience, to interact together as humans, as colleagues, and keep in mind that this is a safe place for you to just to reflect and have an opportunity to gather a few insights, a few different perspectives, again, for your self-care, because you are worth it. And I will be asking for your participation in the chat, and Carissa's going to be monitoring that for us. So just relax and take whatever resonates from you. So our purpose today is to recognize that aging is a lifelong process, and we're going to look at our day after day of aging as ongoing opportunities to invest in our well-being. We're going to explore why conversations about aging matter, personally, culturally, and organizationally. We're going to interpret Canadian demographic trends to reinforce the importance of our responsibilities. So it's a bit of a different lens that we're going to put on this, our responsibility towards a healthy life. And then we're going to apply this philosophy of the health as a portfolio. It's a mindset using daily behaviors as our long-term investment. And then we're going to share some tips and strategies for healthy aging, including, of course, physical, mental, and occupational. And so my goal today is to inspire you to make one daily deposit to your future self. Okay, and all that's going to come together as we go through. So this is a timeout for our self-care. We're going to start by talking about why. Why are we even talking about aging? For one thing, it's the one thing that we all have in common because we're all aging every single day. But instead of tiptoeing around it or only thinking about it when health challenges show up, I want us to look at aging differently. I want us to look at aging as a privilege, not a problem. Every day that we wake up and get to age is a gift. And the more we invest in our well-being now, the greater our chances of keeping that gift for as long as possible and enjoying it. So let's take a minute here. And this is where I want you to share in the chat. Just throw in what comes to mind. The question is, if aging is such a natural and universal part of life, then why do we so often avoid talking about it? And this is where I'm going to ask you to just pipe in the chat. Krista, let me know what's coming through there. Why don't we talk about aging? What are the things that keep us from talking? What are our thoughts around aging that make it something that we don't just talk about?
Lots coming in the chat right now. We have it is terrifying, uncertainty, fear, concerns about physical limitations and pain because we don't like it, stigma, association with death.
Yeah,
Yeah, lots of death, culture of survival.
right on. Thank you. Wow, powerful. A lot of it does come down to this word ageism. Okay. Ageism is a stereotyping based on age. And it's not just about older people, it can affect anybody at any age. And when we make assumptions about someone's abilities or their value or their potential purely based on how old we think they are, this is ageism. And like all forms of discrimination, it is harmful. Okay, so as you pointed out in the chat here, some of the most common cultural messages about aging are that it's depressing, that being younger is automatically better, that aging is something to hide, to feel ashamed of, or even be disgusted by. And these ideas can be subtle, so ingrained in things like advertising and entertainment, everyday conversation, the jokes that we make, that we might not even notice them influencing how we think about ourselves and others. And fear, as you also called out, is a big one. We fear losing our independence, our health, our looks, our identity. And instead of confronting those fears in a healthy way, many people try to avoid the topic altogether, as if not talking about aging could somehow stop it from happening. I'm going to give you an example of just how pervasive this is. When I typed in Google, I lie about the first prediction that came in is age. That's how common it is for people to conceal or distort their age. It's literally built into the algorithms that we use every day. Okay, so we've created a culture where being honest about your age can feel risky, personally, socially, and even professionally. But here's the thing. Avoiding the topic doesn't protect us from aging. It only makes it harder to prepare for it in a healthy and an empowered way. So let's look at what happens when we do talk about it openly. All right, let's shift our lens and look at why we should be talking about aging, and more importantly, why we should start now. Say we're going to do anything soon, there's no sooner than right now. So first, we break the stigma. We normalize the conversation, so it's not something that we tiptoe around or we joke about uncomfortably. Because whether we talk about it or not, again, it's happening to all of us. So aging means that we've been given more time. This is the lens shift, time to grow, time to experience, to learn, to connect. And that's an incredible opportunity. The sooner we talk about it, the sooner we can act on it. And the sooner we can make small, intentional changes that add up over the years, the sooner we do that, the better off we're all going to be. So I want you to think of it like a savings account for your health. Okay, tiny deposits over time can make a huge difference. So talking openly about aging also develops empathy. When we understand that everyone's on the same journey, then it's easier to be patient, to be supportive, and less judgmental. And it reinforces gratitude for today. Instead of dreading the years ahead, we can appreciate the day that we're living right now and the fact that we're actually able to live it. So this isn't just personal, it's also professional. Healthy aging is defined by the World Health Organization as the ability to live in environments that support and maintain one's intrinsic capacity and functional ability. And that applies directly to workplaces as well. So an organization that supports healthy aging benefits from experienced employees who can contribute longer, more effectively, and with greater engagement. And when we talk about employers, the workplaces are all made up of us. So we are the employer. The combined us are the employer. So why not talk about it? I love this quote here. And that is that aging is just another word for living. Okay, if we can embrace that, then we open the door for healthier, more vibrant years, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. We're going to take a look at that. So I want to share a little moment from when my boys were young. It was a moment that has stayed with me ever since, and it was when their grandfather passed away. Adam was about 8 years old and James was 7. And in that very pure, honest way that kids have, Adam said to me, "I'm scared to get old because I don't want to die." And I could feel the weight of that because, let's be honest, as we shared together in the chat, it's the fear that sits at the root of so much age-related stigma. We equate getting older with loss, with decline, and eventually with death. But then James, without missing a beat, looked at his brother and said, "Don't be scared to get old, Adam. It means you didn't die young." And I just thought, wow, out of the mouth of babes, right? This little 7-year-old reframed aging in the simplest and most beautiful way. So getting old isn't something to fear. It's proof that you've been given more time, that we've been given more time. And that's a perspective I think that we can all carry with us. That yes, aging does come with challenges, but it also means that we've had the privileges of more days, more experiences, more opportunities to live. And when we look at it through that lens, that aging is a gift of more time, then it changes how we approach our daily habits, our mindset, and our plans for our future. Which brings us to how we can actually practice healthy aging every single day. So, we just explored why we should be talking about aging, breaking stigma, embracing the gift of time, and seeing it as an opportunity. Now we're going to look at who we are, because understanding aging on a national level helps us see where we fit into the bigger picture, personally, culturally, and professionally. And the numbers tell a story. They also help to shape how we plan for health in our workplaces and in our communities. Okay, so this is a bit of a different lens. So this is a dashboard from Stats Canada, and it's based on the 1971 and 2021 census. So there's a span of 50 years there, which is really just less than my lifespan. So I span all of that and some. This is more than just numbers. This is a snapshot of who we are right now as a country and how it's shifting over time. So what are we seeing here? Overall, Canada's population is growing, but the percentage of the age groups is shifting. This is important, okay? These shifts are important because they're predictors of our future needs. No matter what age you are now, these are predictors of your future needs. That's you, that's me. Our needs are reflected here. Okay, so let's take a look at these trends. The proportion of children has declined over the past 5 decades, reflecting that there's lower birth rates and there's changing family structures. Okay. And another trend is that while the absolute number of working age adults, so in total, the number of working age adults has increased because there's more population, their share, though, of the total population has decreased. So this indicates that we have an aging society. Okay, so proportionately, even though there's more people all around, proportionately, those who are working are not as high. So we had 24.1 million in 1971 and approximately 26.5 in 2021. Okay, so we've increased in that span of time by 2.4 million. But the share of the total population that share of the total population has increased, but the proportion of working people, this is the key point here, the proportion of working people has decreased. So when we take a closer look at this, what it's saying is that the senior population has more than tripled in both absolute numbers and a percentage of the total population. And this is driven because there's increased life expectancy and the aging of the baby boomers, which is the largest generational cohort that we've had in recent past. Okay, so what's happening is that we have the opportunity to live longer, much in part because of the work that you do in healthcare, because healthcare contributes to longevity for sure. But what it tells us is that we have an opportunity to be in that space and live longer. Now, how we're going to live is the differentiator. Okay, so in case you're wondering, yes, Canada counts centenarians, and those are the people that are 100 years older or more, and that group is growing too. So could be daunting, but it could be also very exciting to think that, wow, I'm at my midlife for real now, and I've got a long ways potentially to go. Okay, let's keep looking at why this is so important. Because we're here together today in this working age group. And one day, if we take care of ourselves, and if we're lucky, we know bad things do happen to good people, we take care of ourselves and we're lucky, then we're going to be well into this group of retirees. We will get there. Canadians aged 85 and older rose almost 12% from the time of the last census. And while Canadians aged over 100 rose by more than 15%. So over the next 30 years, the number of persons aged 85 and older could triple from 861,000 to 2.7 million. Okay, we could be in that group. Statistics Canada population projections indicate that by 2051, almost 1/4 of the population could be age 65 and older, adding up to almost 12 million people. Okay, so what is all this telling us? It's telling us that we are living longer. The potential to live longer is there. What I'm saying is let's aim to make it healthy and happy. Here's another visual here, really just to close this off, is that it helps us see this from a financial perspective as well. This chart represents the number of working age Canadians, so 15 to 64, for each senior, 65 and up. And the number is coming down, it's dropping. So what you see here is a steady decline from 1971 through to 2025, and it's projected to keep going down. So in 1971, there were 7.7 working age Canadians, so 7.7 of us working for every senior. So each one of us, each one of those contributing towards infrastructure, the healthcare system, the pensions, the social services that we have in Canada, right? So it takes a big group to support all of that. So there were 7.7 in 1971. This ratio has now fallen to 3.4 in 2022. And we can see in that little box there, in 2025, it's now 3.2. So the trend is ongoing. And by 2027, the forecast suggests that that ratio of working age Canadians to seniors is going to fall to 3. So what does it mean? It means that there could be strains on our systems. And it's even more important for us to set ourselves up for as much autonomy and ability as possible. I believe absolutely that Canada is one of the best places to live in the world. And I believe that our systems are excellent. And yes, we can discuss and debate. There's work to be done for sure. But what a gift to know that we can live longer. So let's live longer well. All right, so we've talked about who we are and why this conversation matters. Let's talk about what we're actually building. This is our personal health portfolio. So in the financial world, there's a strategy called dollar cost averaging. This is where you invest a fixed amount of money regularly, no matter what the market is doing, you're just contributing your fixed amount. And over time, this smooths out that there's highs and lows, so it averages out and it helps you grow your investment steadily. Okay, your health works the same way. Your investment, though, includes a balanced diet, right? The nutrients that we put in our body to function well day after day, regular exercise, the movement that our body needs in order to stay healthy and resilient. So these are our daily deposits. They're the small, consistent actions repeated over time that create this long-term health stability. Just like when you invest money, it's not about timing the market or chasing the gains. It's about commitment, it's about consistency, and it's about patience. And so the goal is the same in both cases. In finance, we reduce the risk of downturns and we grow our incomes, our wealth steadily. And in health, we reduce the risk of illness and we build our strength steadily. So when you think about it, both of them are really about future-proofing yourself. You're making choices today that are going to pay dividends in years ahead, whether it's the financial security or the ability to live well and independently as you continue to age. So, in essence, the analogy between dollar cost averaging for financial health and maintaining a balanced diet with regular exercise for physical health emphasizes the importance of discipline, awareness first, discipline, consistency, and long term commitment in achieving your goals really in both areas. So, just as you invest in your financial future through dollar cost averaging, then you invest in your physical well-being through a healthy lifestyle. And both approaches can lead to better overall health and stability in the long run. Okay? That's what we're talking about, no matter what age you are at. So, here again, in financial investing, putting all your resources in one area is very risky. So, healthy financial investments include diversifying your portfolio. In health, diversification means looking after different aspects as well, right? So, we've got physical strength, cardiovascular health, mental well being, nutrition, rest, social connections. If one area struggles, the other one will help keep you steady. Okay, so this is what I call, instead of dollar cost averaging, I call this effort cost averaging. This is the health version. So investing small, consistent amounts of effort over time rather than trying to make up for neglect with one big push. So you can't go to the gym, say, for 8 hours on Saturday and undo a sedentary week. Little daily actions accumulate, and that's what smooths out, your health market portfolio, and all of those ups and downs are smoothed out with that consistency. So just like financial resources, our time and our energy are limited. So some weeks you might allocate more towards mental health, like rest or therapy. Other times you might put towards building physical strength. Sometimes you balance it all. So the key is intentional distribution based on what's important in the moment without neglecting the rest. So by investing, you periodically rebalance, again, based on life stages, based on different goals, based on market shifts. This happens in how we invest financially. If you're renting, for example, then you buy a home, then you're going to revisit the way that your finances are working and how you're investing. If children come along, then you shift again. So there's certain life events that happen that cause you to have to reconsider and rebalance. And in health, you rebalance based on things that happen: injuries, stress levels, new priorities. Yes, age as well, that what worked in my 20s might not be the right mix for me in my 50s. But the key is that we don't ever stop, right? We adjust. Um, some people have a higher tolerance for pushing their limits, right? Some people have a higher tolerance for investing in stocks that are riskier. Um, Same in health, like high intensity workouts, maybe extreme sports. Others need a more gentle approach. So, from a human perspective, it includes genetic predispositions, a history of your medical, a history of injuries, or even your mental bandwidth for change. There's a lot that comes into play here, right? So knowing yourself is really important. In finance, it's called Know Your Client. It's called KYC, and it's about understanding the investor profile. But in health, it's know yourself. And that means understanding your body, understanding your mind through, potentially your blood work, knowing your biomarkers, your cholesterol, your vitamin levels, your inflammation markers, whatever you have access to. History, your past injuries, your illnesses, your family medical patterns, even your values, what matters to you, right? Mobility, aesthetics, performance, what's really important to you comes into play. Your preferences. There's an author called Adam Bernstein, and he talks about making health habits match your personal enjoyment. Really important. He says if you hate running, then stop forcing it, but find something that works for you, and then you will stick to it. Because health is an investment, and the earlier you start, the smarter you diversify, and the consistency will then be maintained. And then after that, it compounds over time. And that's where we see the compounding effect here. So I've given you the analogy of looking at health like a diversified portfolio. So we're going to zoom into one of the smartest investment strategies, and this is the effort cost averaging. So just like in finance, the key isn't about one massive one-time deposit, but it's about steady, consistent contributions over time. Small changes are mighty wins. We're not talking about overhauling your entire life in a week, because that's like dumping your entire life savings into one stock and then praying that it works out. That doesn't work. Instead, we want to think in percentages. Okay, and this is a really good little formula, that if you get 1% better every day, whether it's in your fitness, your sleep, diet, hydration, movement, relationships, your interests, your joy, your giving, your sharing, okay, that improvement, that 1% compounds. And the math is there, that 1% better to the power of 365 days a year equals 37.78. So it means that you'll be 37 times better at the end of the year. But the reverse is true too, that 1% worse every day, even in small ways, that compounds to almost zero, okay, to 0.99. To the power of 365 is equal to 0.03. So you're almost at zero. And this is why I say tiny, tiny little wins matter. Adding an extra 10 minutes of movement, one more glass of water than usual, sending one message to a friend, journaling a gratitude, acknowledging a great day, going to bed 15 minutes earlier. All these micro efforts are small on their own, but they are massive when they compound over time. And so the magic is that you don't have to hit every category every day. Your effort average still grows as long as you keep showing up in little ways across your portfolio. So if small and steady actions build up over time, what happens when we don't take them? Okay, well, that can lead us to two of the heaviest loads that we will ever carry. There are two main burdens in life, and they don't show up on a medical chart, but they weigh us down as much as any physical illness. The first is regret. The I wish I had, or I wish I hadn't, that we direct inwards towards ourselves. It's about what we did or what we didn't do, the missed opportunities, the chances that we were too scared or too distracted to take. Okay. The second burden is remorse. And this one is often heavier. It's the I'm sorry that we carry for the ways that our actions or our inactions impacted somebody else. Both burdens are exhausting because they take up mental, emotional, and sometimes even physical space in our lives. But here's the thing, okay, that effort cost averaging can prevent those burdens from growing. So while we can take small, consistent steps towards the life that we want, when we do that, we're actually lightening that load before it becomes too heavy to carry. And I want to emphasize something here that's really important, and that is that bad things happen to good people. Okay. I wish that I could give me and that I could give you guarantees that if we do all the right things, then we will live long and healthy forever. But we know that bad things happen to good people. And my goodness, you know it more than anyone. You work out there and you see every day that impact. So we don't know our destiny. But if we're struck with a health misfortune, for example, that is bad enough. Okay, it's bad enough for these things to happen. And believing, though, that we did what we could with what we had, this is what lightens these terrible, heavy mental loads, right? This is what will help alleviate. It's bad enough dealing with bad things, but when we carry remorse or we carry regret, it just compounds it in ways that may not be necessary. So the sooner we act, the lighter both can become. And so here we are. We showcased why it's important to talk about aging. Basically, it's synonymous with living. We looked at who we are in this wonderful place that we get to live, Canada, and we looked at what we're trying to build, which is a health portfolio for a longer and healthier life. Now we have the fun part. Let's look at how we can make these ongoing steady deposits towards our health. So we talked about what daily deposits are, right? Now let's shift into how we can put them into practice. Think of daily deposits as these small intentional habits. Habits meaning you got to do them over and over for a little while and then it starts to flow. We're going to look at mental and we're going to look at physical. And these are what help us manage our stress, recover from setbacks, and keep ourselves steady throughout the ups and downs that are inevitable in life. By practicing these habits consistently, we're not just building resilience for today, we're also creating a strong foundation that supports our health and our well-being for the long run. Okay, so in other words, every deposit that you make, whether it's a mindful pause, a walk, a moment of gratitude, a healthy choice, every deposit that you make is an investment in your future self. So this is a little reflection exercise for you. I want you to take a moment. We're going to take a moment just to check in with ourselves, okay? So if we were to take all of these areas of health and put them into buckets, which one of yours might be running on empty right now? Just take a minute to think about that. And maybe you can throw that in the chat, Carissa. You can let us know. We're not identifying anything with anyone here. We're not putting names to anything by any means, but we're just getting a sense of, just at a glance, which one of these buckets do you think needs more attention in your life?
We have someone saying sleep,
Yeah,
more sleep,
more.
relaxation, exercise, all of the above.
All of the above. Okay, so let's play a game here. I'm going to give you a bit of a true or false. So of course, time is of the essence, but what I want you to do, just put in a T or an F. In the chat, I'm going to read a statement, and then I want you to give us what your version is. And you can also say it depends. But Carissa, if you can just keep, as we go through each one, just see what comes through, if it's trues or falses, what are we seeing? So here we go. First question 2 is, if I move my body for at least 20 minutes, almost always feel more energized afterwards. So if I move my body for at least 20 minutes, I almost always feel more energized afterwards. True or false?
I'm only seeing trues right now.
Right on. Excuse me. Wonderful. Okay, true or false? I consistently get enough quality sleep to feel refreshed in the morning.
And now we get most falses. Some
Yeah.
trues, some
Okay.
trues.
Oh, good for you. You'll have to share your strategies with the rest of us, please. Because I would say I'm a false on that one as well. But there is a point to this exercise. True or false? I'm aware of how the food I eat affects my energy and mood throughout the day. True or false?
True for the most part.
True for the most part. Fantastic. Good.
Couple falses.
Okay, good. Okay, true or false? This is about active relaxation here. When I make space for light stretching, yoga, or calming movement, I notice a difference in how I feel.
All trues.
Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, so thank you for playing along there. So now ask yourself, this is the point here of this exercise, which of these buckets is full and which one might be halfway, which one's running on empty? And the key isn't about judgment by any means. It's an opportunity for you to stop and notice, because awareness is the first step to rebalancing. And so when you reflect on what works and what doesn't, when you know that your outcomes are maybe a sometimes, maybe sometimes you get that nourishing sleep, maybe sometimes not, maybe sometimes you feel great after your meal, you don't feel anything different, but sometimes you just you're just like, oh, no, tend to not feel so good when I eat that. Creating that awareness helps you with your next steps, helps you decide, what am I going to do to refill this bucket? This one seems to be running on empty. I'm going to give my attention over here a little bit more. So if you come up with answers like, well, it depends, well, then the next question to ask yourself is, okay, well, it depends on what? And then there's your answers, really, that you can lean into. And this is what will help guide your actions so that you have better outcomes. Okay. And so I just want to pause here for just a minute and acknowledge a reality of your work. And it may not apply to all of you, but it's definitely applicable in our healthcare system. So it's shift work. And we know the science. We know that all of those habits that we talked about, everything that we should be practicing, right? The exercise, sleep, hygiene, balanced nutrition, active relaxation, we know those and we can focus our attention on it, but shift work makes every one of those harder to do consistently, and it's important to call that out. Sleep is disrupted by irregular schedules. Nutrition does take a hit when healthy options aren't readily available. at night or over long shifts. Exercise and movement can fall to the bottom of the list when you're already exhausted. And finding time for real relaxation can feel maybe sometimes impossible when your body clock is constantly adjusting. So this again isn't about blame or pointing a finger or becoming a victim of shift work by any means. It's just about acknowledging that this is a reality. Healthcare runs 24/7, and so does your commitment. Again, thank you. But so does the toll on your physical habits, right? So the question is then, knowing that reality, and I always say, look, when we can acknowledge reality and say, okay, this is the way it is, this is the way it is. What are we going to do different to help support the way it is? Because we have the power to do that, to have agency, to make choices to help offset that, the negative impacts. Okay, so this is where I want to hear from you. Actually, if you please share, this is where we come together as a community, and share with each other, what strategies have you found that help you balance even while working shifts? This is where the magic of coming together as a community. Anything that you can share would be really helpful here.
Emily says making alarms to drink water or to
Oh,
stretch or get some air.
fabulous. Use your technology, use your devices to help you that way. Yeah, just set timers for reminders. Fantastic, because you can get lost in your flow. Thank you. Anything else? So the idea.
Someone's
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry. Someone says I stretch when visiting a medication room.
Oh, good. Okay, so you know your little corners where you can take that little time, and it doesn't have to be hours, right? These little micro movements are so important, to seize the opportunity. And so we recognize, look, there's no perfect formula, but by sharing with each other, then you can build a bank really of practical strategies that make healthy aging possible. All of this contributes to how we feel and how we grow. So even in the reality of shift work. So I want to invite you all to, take time, after this seminar, to talk to each other, share with each other what works. This is the conversation around aging. One of the biggest health challenges as we age, and thank you, by the way, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. One of the biggest health challenges as we age is the decline in muscle mass, okay, the strength and the function. And this is called sarcopenia. So it's not just about posture or walking. Muscle is actually this metabolic powerhouse. It stores glucose, fats, buffers amino acids during stress. And stop there because you're the experts on this one. Muscle even predicts the outcomes for patients in hospitals. I think that you can attest to that more than anyone. So from our 40s and 50s onwards, and the age component doesn't matter. The reality is that the body naturally does begin to change, and we are losing 1% of muscle. Again, the numbers specifically are not as important as the concept that we are losing muscle mass and we're losing a lot of strength every year. That's just natural human biology. We're not, remember, back in the day intended to live to be 100. So why are we talking about it? Because we need to focus on this now. So periods of inactivity, whether from illness, hospitalization, or even too much sitting, this can accelerate that decline. And here's the trade-off to what our modern life is now, all of the privileges that we have in this wonderful modern life. With every gain that we make in automation and in convenience, we lose human function. That's a fact. When we stopped shopping in malls, we're not getting dressed, getting up, getting out, getting to there, parking, walking, moving, paying, coming back. All of that's gone with the click of a button at our fingertips. If you have a Roomba to clean your carpets, fantastic. What a convenience. I hope you go out for a walk instead of vacuuming your floors. So somehow we need to make up for those losses of all of the natural movement that we used to have. Convenience is great, but it comes at a cost. And with all of this decline in muscle, the result is there's a higher risk of fractures, of chronic conditions, and all of this movement helps in our stability, so it actually increases our risks of falling. But the good news is that muscle is highly adaptable. So strength training, even at lighter loads, can rebuild and preserve our muscle. And it also makes our body more responsive to protein, to helping overcome what's called anabolic resistance. So it's imperative to focus on maintaining our muscle and continually building muscle, because we know that we're going to be losing it. So the takeaway here is this, that maintaining muscle isn't about vanity. It's kind of nice. If you like that and that's important to you, even better. But it's about independence. It's about resilience. It's about living well longer. So even small, consistent movements can contribute to this. And this is where I introduced to you. I was very, very interested in Dr. James Levine. He's a leading researcher in the field of obesity and metabolism, and he's best known for his work on this acronym NEAT, NEAT, and it stands for Non-Exercise Activity Thermogenesis. So here's the overview of what he teaches. That NEAT refers to the energy that we expend for everything that we do that's not sleeping, eating, or structured exercise. Okay, so this includes the walking around that you do in your home or in your workplace, even fidgeting, the movement, gardening, taking the stairs, typing, or all of the daily chores that you have in a day. And so he has a book called Move a Little, Lose a Lot. And what it teaches us is that these small movements add up. Okay, he emphasizes that small bursts of activity throughout the day can have significant impact in calorie burning and overall health. And so NEAT plays this major role in daily energy expenditure, and it can vary by up to 2,000 calories per day between people, depending on how active their lifestyle is. So he's widely credited for popularizing the phrase that you've probably all heard by now, which is sitting is the new smoking. And this is a warning that sitting for extended periods of time can dramatically increase the risk of chronic diseases. And then he refers to movement as medicine. He suggests that designing your day around movement rather than squeezing in a single workout or remaining sedentary for the rest of the time is hugely beneficial. So this is about intention. Frequent low intensity movement is critical for long-term health. Okay, so when you have to go up and down the stairs maybe to put away the laundry, embrace that. Yay, I get to go up 3 times. I'm not going to carry it all in one bucket. No, maybe I will, and I'm going to flex as I carry the bucket. All of these movements, rejoice in them. So next time you want to park closest to the door, wherever you're going, think, yay, I get to walk a distance and use my legs to get to where I need to go, and I get to burn a few extra calories. Embrace the opportunities to incorporate NEAT. And he also emphasizes that we need to be intentional on redesigning our environments. So this is home, workplaces, schools, to encourage movement. Right? Examples could be having walking meetings, having standing desks, having active classrooms, putting things in such ways that it encourages movement. If some of you have to take the stairs or the elevator to get up, maybe you think, okay, 6 flights. I don't want to do 6 flights. So I push the button, I take the elevator. Do 1 flight and then get off and take the elevator for the rest. These micro movements, remember, they add up. And so Dr. Levine teaches us that increasing NEAT is a practical and sustainable way to improve health and manage weight. So it's all about those daily contributions, right? Not necessarily always just about going to the gym. How much you move all day matters. And then, of course, we have to talk about nutrition as one of the most confusing parts of health, because the world is full of diets, and we've got keto, paleo, intermittent fasting. The list goes on and on and on. But the truth is that there's no single diet that works for everybody. And here's where I'm going to share with you my experience with AI that's been very powerful and very helpful. So instead of trying to stick to someone else's plan, what you can do is use a chat-based AI to create a log of the foods that you actually enjoy, the foods that you eat, and just enter your meals and snacks and ask it to give you the calories and the macronutrients, the protein, carbs, fats. You can even ask it for micronutrients. So in just a few days, by doing this, you're going to start to see patterns. You're going to maybe notice that, oh my goodness, I'm so way high in carbs and very low in protein. Or maybe you're great on calories, but you've got no fiber in all of there. So the beauty is that you're not following any particular rule, but you're learning yourself. And by doing that, your observations are going to help guide your next steps in developing your healthier habits. Once you see your own numbers, the small changes come naturally, and you might add an extra source of protein here or swap out a sugary drink there. So it's not about restriction by any means. It's really about building that awareness. And AI makes nutrition less about discipline and more about discovery. So the more you learn what you're really eating, the easier it is to make changes that actually stick. And so for sure, there are apps out there that also do this in different ways, and they connect to your wearables. So if you do that already, fantastic. But I found using AI to be so easy. I just typed in a prompt like this one here, that I'm telling it, I will enter my food intake daily, keep track of my calories and macronutrients to help me learn. Bam, it's ready for me to input. And then I start entering. I say, today is day one. And then I put in what I have. It keeps tabs throughout the day. And then the next day I'll say, okay, we're starting day two. And in seconds, it's going to break it all down for you. So do it for a few days and you're going to start to see your own trends. And that's how you learn your nutrition story. And once you know your story, then you can write your own next chapter in nutrition. And then we have, of course, contributing to our health and longevity in our healthy way, our mental habits, practicing gratitude, mindfulness, positive self-talk, realistic goals. I want to hear from you. What are your mental habits that help you? Share in the chat. This is the power of togetherness. What are your mental habits that help you?
Someone said yoga,
Beautiful.
values, looking at my values,
Oh,
praying,
love that. Looking at your values, brilliant. Yeah, and yoga
spending
does.
time outdoors,
There you go. Yeah.
talking with friends, daily gratitude, prayers, trying to think positive.
The lists are there and these are fantastic. And the question is, how often do you go to them, right? Remember them. And this is where also talking about it is like mental fitness. It's like, we go to the gym to be inspired, to be reminded to work it. Here is the talking, the sharing, the remembering. This is about knowing what we need to do. So do more of that for yourself. That's fantastic. Thank you. And so here more, the slide builds on this, on the way that we talk to ourselves in different times and how reframing challenges can open the doors to resilience and growth and just be feeling more solid, feeling better mentally. So start by remembering this, that coming at challenges with curiosity rather than judgment is one of the kindest things that you can do for yourself. So instead of saying, why me, you ask, what can I learn from this situation, right? Shift it into a curiosity, ask a question. Could this be an opportunity to try something that I wouldn't have otherwise considered? Sometimes the hardest experiences, and I think you can all pull those out, they become the best stories later on, and they remind us of how strong and adaptable we really are. So taking things one step at a time it's not just practical, it's really oftentimes the only way forward when you think about it. I mean, we can't get to there without going one step at a time. So pace it back a little bit and give yourself the freedom to breathe through the journey. So a helpful perspective is to imagine the situation happening to someone that you love and then saying, what would I tell them? How would you guide them with compassion? And then turn that same kindness back on yourself. Okay, so you might consider this when it comes to developing a new skill, maybe technology, maybe building a new healthy habit, maybe it's around a new hobby of interest and there's a frustration there, you're not getting it as much as you thought you would, maybe about reconnecting with friends, you think, oh God, I wish I could, I should have, I've lost contact. Slow and steady, right? Pursuing educational goal or an online course, reflecting deeply, am I living according to my values? Back to what was shared in the chat. What do I truly want? And the purpose of this reflection isn't to sugarcoat that there is hardship out there. It's about recognizing that disruptions can shake up the status quo, and it gives us a chance to pause, to reprioritize, and to even redirect our directions. Okay, and sometimes, in order to do that, all it takes is looking in the mirror and reminding yourself to be as kind to yourself as you would be to someone that you love who is going through that. And I teach a course at SFU called Workplace Health, Safety, and Wellness. And one of the biggest lessons that we take from occupational health and safety is this, that most injuries are preventable because most are human-led. So when we heighten our awareness of how injuries happen, then we also heighten our ability to prevent them. And preventing injury is one of the most powerful contributors to healthy aging. So it starts with a focus on our surroundings. Little things matter: tangled cords, mats, rugs that have a lip on them, slipping potential, pathways that aren't clear, poor lighting, and even vision issues that go unchecked, right? For those working from home, ergonomic risks are often even higher sitting at a desk. And when we talk about ergonomics, what are we talking about when we say ergonomics? It's making your surroundings fit you. It's about having the ability to move and get blood flowing. How does your chair support you? Where does your monitor sit? Even the tilt of your head when you're looking at a computer or on that phone. Little subtle things that over time can add up to pain, to strain, to injury. So when you think about safety, it's not just about avoiding accidents, it's about designing your environment to support your health, your movement, and your longevity. Okay, accident prevention is healthy aging in action. All right, so be cognizant of that. All right. Then we have psychological research that shows something we probably know, but bears repeating as a reminder of what's important. And that is that spending time or money on experiences like a hike, a trip, a concert brings us more happiness than buying things like clothes or gadgets. Why? Because experiences give us joy 3 times over, in anticipation, in the moment, and in the memory. So, in contrast, material purchases tend to fade into the background. There's a lot of research on this, that we spend more time with our stuff, but the happiness it brings is short lived. So, studies confirm this across thousands of people. When the same person spends on an experience, their happiness levels are consistently higher than when they're buying a thing. When they remember the experience, the happiness quotient spikes up, but when they remember a purchase, it's net neutral. So, the lesson is that if we want to invest in well-being, experiences are the better buy. They connect us, they shape our stories, they leave us with a sense of satisfaction that lasts for far longer than possessions. And so I want you just to take a minute and think back. Just think back. It's a reflection for you. What's one experience that you invested in that still makes you smile today? And I'm sure that you will all have many of them as you stop and take a moment and think about those. And this could be part of your mindfulness, where you stop and you need to pause to bring yourself down. You think, okay, think back of something that gave you joy. And then I want to just bring us back to this test of regret. So I want you to think about this, and I see that we're coming up to time here, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I want you to pause afterwards and think about putting certain things to your test of regret. Might you regret eating more vegetables? Probably not. Might you regret if you quit smoking if you're a smoker? Most definitely not. Might you regret if you scroll less? If you ever wished more time you spent less on your phone, this is the time to address it. Might I regret if I celebrate with friends? Rarely. Might I regret if I take the stairs? I can tell you, you won't. Or maybe if you go to bed earlier, right? Tomorrow morning we'll answer that one. So some of these are very clear. Others, like, staying or going, renovating, or even taking vacations, they're trickier. But that's the point, is that you always have the opportunity to put it through the test of regret in advance of doing or not doing it. And most of the time, your answer is in the waiting. And with that, we will come to wrap up, and I'm going to hand it back to Carissa. But I want to emphasize that we talked about a lot here. We started with why it's important to think positively about aging, not something that happens to only seniors. This is something that we're all doing every day. We looked at who we are, the reality of Canadian demographics. We asked, what can we do? And the answer wasn't about giant leaps, but it's about daily deposits, those small, consistent choices that compound over time. And then we explored how together. And with that, I just want to remind you, please, to be kind to yourself. Old habits die hard. So healthy habits take time. Take your time. That's okay, because we're not here for quick wins. And I turn it back to you. My goal was to inspire you to make one small little deposit to yourself for your future self. And I hope that I have been able to achieve my goal.